Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. Welcome back to the show. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. You made it through another week. And we have a fun show for you today. We have some tool restorations. We're going to do 3 tools, actually free tools, the old-fashioned way. We're going to take junky tools and make them nice. And then we're going to go do a little poor man's flea market. We got a big show. Let's get started right away. Okay. For today's project, we got a couple tools here that I got from my good buddy John at the Long Island Tool Meet, and John came with a box of tools, and he says, here, take what you want, and you know, whatever. It was really nice of him. I picked out a couple tools that I thought would be great for projects for the show here. And these 3 projects each one has a different story. So this one here is a broken crowbar. You can see it's broken there, it's broken here, but can we fix that up and make it usable again? This one here really has nothing wrong with it. It looks like a nice pair of pliers, just needs a cleanup. And these are PS&W Co. and made in the USA. Nice pair of pliers, good size. I like this small size. And then this pair here, this one here we're going to start with, and this is a pair of needle nose pliers. Okay, there's a name on there which I can't really make out now. We'll have to wire brush it, but look at look at all the metal filings on there. I don't know where that came from, but you see the tip is broken. Now I love needle nose pliers. A lot of you do too. The only problem with most needle nose pliers is that when you're using the tip here, you know, a lot of times, and that's how you can tell a good needle nose plier. And you can see this one here is a user. It's really not a good one because there's too much play in the front. If you could see, I'm moving this back and forth. Now, a good needle nose plier, and that's how you tell. If you could do that with a needle, see how I moved it to the side? This is just one I beat on. Not a good user. A good user, or a good needle nose plier, you won't be able to twist the jaw like that. Here's my channel lock that my mother bought me when I was like 15 years old, and you could see this is much, much stronger, okay? You can't really move that from side to side, but when they get worn out, that's what happens, okay? Especially if you put it in and you try and twist, that'll screw up your needle nose pliers. Now, because the tips are screwed up on here, this gives me carte blanche to do what I want with. And one of the tools that I made years ago was this one here. I use this all the time. I ground this down. This thing comes in so handy because what I did is I took that long nose, ground it down. Now it's short and stout and very strong. So when I'm pulling cotter pins or something like that, I can get in there and twist it and not worry about screwing up the pliers like these are. So we're going to regrind this tip here, make it shorter, closer to the hinge, and thus make it much stronger. So we can have a lot of fun, do whatever we want with that. That's what's great about, you know, 25-cent or 50-cent pliers that are broken. You can really have a good time. So let's get started. Okay, we have a bit of a surprise here with our post-wire brush evaluation. That's why we always do the post-wire brush evaluation. And that is that these pliers are from Klein. These are an old pair of Klein pliers. You could see here, established 1857. You could see it's got some nice writing on here. So, you know, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to deform these as much as I normally would have if they were no name. So I'm going to try and keep these. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and just regrind the tips so it looks somewhat original, but it's a nice pair, and they are date coded. That's one nice thing about Klein. You can see on the inside handle here, there's it says O-L-EM. O is a filler letter, okay, so that don't mean anything. L is the 3rd quarter of the year, which is 3rd quarter, and EM is the date, and seeing on that chart there, that's 1941. So these are the 3rd quarter of 1941. And these would have been right around World War II. What do you think about that, huh? So what do you say we just do a preservation on these because they are nice. You know, let's not go nuts on these, but let's fix up the tip there. And what a nice pair, huh? So let's now, whenever you're going to reprofile something, you want to use a very coarse belt. This is an 80 grit belt. And the reason we're going to use a coarse belt is, of course, it'll take away a lot of material without overheating it, okay? So we're going to reprofile the tip, get it to something that's pretty decent, and then we'll work our way down in grits to a smoother grit so it won't have all those scratches. Let's do that. Now these are coming out real nice. You can see what we did with the tip here, and we're able to keep that logo. Look at that logo. Now we're going to blue the handles and we'll polish it out later. But before we get to that, let's get to these. Now these here, you can see here, you can see the condition they're in. The jaws are kind of really messed up. Again, I don't use these for cutting. I use these more for getting in and twisting and whatnot. So that's what we're going to use it for. These are pretty much shot. We can do what we want with these. They got a big chip there. So these we can really have fun with. We don't have to worry about them being valuable, but it's just a nice size. You don't get them this size too often. It's real nice. So let's just clean these up real quick. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what John's free tools look like before we started. And we're calling this project, or these projects, done. What do you think about these today? Let me show you. Let's start with the crowbar. Okay, now this crowbar was kind of wrecked, right? Redid the tip. The tip is nice now. It's got a thin profile. A little bit shorter, but still nice. Polished it up. And the back here, same thing with the back. You know, one of those legs were chipped off, but it's still usable now. It's very smooth. It's blued. It just feels real nice in the hand. Took all the edges. Remember, when you take these facets down, it's going to create a sharp edge. So you have to, all these, see this shine on there? All those edges are smoothed down, or else it won't be comfortable in the hand. So we got that crowbar. Then we got the Peck, Stowe, and Wilcox 240-6. You can see here what we did with this. Now, again, the jaws are ruined, but this makes this size is such a great size, this little size, especially if you're doing stuff on the wire wheel and you got to hold the washer or something. This is a great, and the jaws are still good as far as here. It's just the cutters are kind of worn out, but blued the handles and facets all came out good. So that was this is always a fun tool, right? And then, of course, the surprise of the day was these Klein, and look at that. Look how nice that came out, okay? I was able to not lose any lettering and still polish all around it, and also fix the tip. Now, I got to tell you something. If I gave you this on the street, I don't think you would be able to tell that tip was reground, because it just came out perfect. And I blued the hands. I always like to do that. It just looks sharp. And what do you think about that? Isn't that a nice pair? Again, all these were free from John. It just goes to show you, it doesn't matter what kind of tool. You can have just as much fun working on a 50-cent tool as you can working on a $100 tool. But this is great practice down the shop, and also a lot of fun. And there we go. We took 3 tools that would have been kind of thrown away and made them into, brought them back to life. Okay, next up, we did a little poor man flea marketing. That's where I walk around at night and see what people have thrown out. And there was some interesting stuff this week. Come take a look. Now, first off, around the corner from me, I saw this. Somebody is moving, and look, they threw out a whole bunch of kids' toys. And these are not, look, there's a grave digger, probably remote control, a whole bag of Nerf guns. There's a red baseball glove in there, and they all work. Everything in there was workable, but I guess they're moving. And look at this, a nice garbage truck. I love toys. I just wish I knew somebody that had a kid, a boy that was of age that I could give these to, but I don't. And I hate to see them thrown away. Now, this is what caught my attention. From across the street, I walked over. I said, I love lamps and stuff. This one's an old one, but I said it's put together odd. Because look under here. You see that? That's a different lamp. Well, that shade doesn't belong on there. And that's an old one. You could tell by the plug. So let's grab this one and see what we can do with this. Okay, so here is the lamp that I wound up taking, and the first thing we're going to do is, it's dusty. It looks like it was in a basement or garage somewhere, and of course I took the shade. I left the shade. I didn't like that shade, so we're going to try and date this and look it over. But first I'm going to wipe it down, get rid of some of the dust. Okay, we wiped off the dust and everything just to check it out, to try and date this lamp. The reason I picked it up, obviously, is first of all, take a look at this here. This is a gold mine right here. This is an Eagle Electric. Can you see that? Let me get, there we go. That's an Eagle Electric rocker switch. Can you see that, Eagle? These things are 15 amp, 120 volts, easily rebuildable, hard to find. You don't usually find these today. And the new ones are expensive to get it. This is a Bakelite. It's a nice switch in good shape. Also, going back here, we have a two-piece base followed by 3 sections here. These sections are hollow. There's some lamp pipe in between, and we have that nice top section there that holds the globe. Now that globe, like I said, that ribbed globe is very unusual, and to take it out of there, there's 3 little screws that unscrew that hold the lip of the bulb. We'll take it out here. We'll wash that in a little while. Take it over to the sink. You got to be careful with these, but let me take a look real quick. The socket, sure enough, looks like a Leviton socket. It's a it has a switch on it, but actually this lamp looks like that top universal base had a hole in it that you can have a knob coming out of there if you had a turnstile switch, you know, that would turn it on and off. So let's go clean up that globe. Now I cleaned the globe. The outside, you can use a mild abrasive like a Comet or Ajax if you have nicotine stains and things like that, but you really want to be careful with this. The inside, you don't want to use anything abrasive because that's usually where they put the frosting, which is what made this globe frost, you know. So you just want to do the inside with just soapy water, swish it around, spill it out, and a damp paper towel. So there we go. This is nice and clean. Let's put a light bulb in here and see what we get. I put a 60-watt light bulb, actually one of the light bulbs that was in the traffic light. It's a 60-watt incandescent. I'm going to turn it on, and there we go. Now, let me just see if I could dim it a little bit here. There you go. Can you see the fluting on there? I got to tell you something. This is absolutely beautiful. It just has a nice glow to it. You don't see these type of globes anymore. I don't anyway. And this is a vintage globe, and it's just beautiful. To take the lamp apart, we go in from the top here. There we go. We're going from the top here, and we take this socket here, and you can see this just moves over to the side. It's kind of a press fit, and you'll just pull it to one side and pop that right out of there. You see how we just popped that out? That's your casing here. That's aluminum. And again, Leviton. Can you see that? Leviton. And here is your socket if that ever goes bad. And there's the 2 wires that hook up. So unscrew these wires, and it should pull through the base here. You see the base? This is the cast iron. You pull that through. Let's do that. Okay, here is that lamp all taken apart. And I got to tell you, I love this. As a kid, I would love to take apart lamps and make different lamps out of it. Now, you saw that lamp we had. I wasn't crazy about that style of lamp, but look at what you can do with all different lamp parts. And this was why it was such a popular hobby in the 60s, 70s, and whatnot. Now, this is just from that lamp. And here was the base. I took the paint off with the wire brush. You can see that's the base, okay? Now, this was on top of the base, okay? That was on top of the base. Now, I could make a short lamp by taking this, right? This is what held the globe. This is the globe holder. Putting it on here, right? And running it just like that. It would be a short little lamp. Then I could, if I wanted, I could have a slightly longer lamp by putting one of these on, and it will be like a desk lamp. So you can make whatever you want. Now, to put these together, again, there's that cast iron piece I was telling you about that weights it down so it doesn't fall. That goes on here, okay, gets screwed on. That little slot is for the lamp cord, and the lamp cord comes out through here, okay? And it's bent in so it doesn't cut into the lamp cord. Also, you can use your regular socket. Now, to put everything together, you use what's called lamp pipe, okay? This is lamp pipe, and the old-fashioned USA lamp pipe was a 1/8 inch lamp pipe by 27 threads per inch. So there's 27 threads in 1 inch there, okay? And that's the old-fashioned. Now, however, today, because most lamps are made China overseas, they have a different one. They have like, I think it's metric 10, M10 by 1.0 pitch or something. I think that's what they use overseas. So when you order, now here's the thing, if you want to make your own lamp pipe, you buy them assortment like this of different lengths of threaded lamp pipe. This is a connector. This has some the nuts and washers and everything you'll need. So this will just about do everything you want. Unless you want to make a long lamp, then you'd need a long pipe. This was the pipe that was in the middle of that lamp that the cord ran through. But so you buy this. Now, I try and always stick with, I buy assortments that are 1/8 by 27, which is typical USA stuff, because I repair a lot of old stuff. But if you're making lamps, you buy the cheapest stuff you can get, and you know, assortment like that. You don't care what it is. But I'm sure this is the old stuff, 1/8 by 27. That was in the lamp. I could use that to make. So I'm going to make something for next episode. I'm going to make a lamp out of this. I don't know what I'm going to do or what. I could make a hanging lamp. You know, you could put two pieces together like this. You could take this and this over here and make a hanging lamp that'll hang up onto a ceiling, which I always like. You can even put that in here and do the same thing. So there's a lot of things you could do. I'm going to think about what I want to do. I'm going to make a lamp for next episode. Let me know in the comments what do you think is what kind of lamp you would like to see, and we'll bring it for next episode. Okay, so in closing, that was an interesting lamp. I'm telling you, those globes are hard to find these days. And what you think about the 3 tools, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoy your upcoming weekend. We will see you again on Monday. Take care now. Bye-bye.